for me to start.
Hey, ladies, how are you tonight?
All
Wonderful.
right.
How are you?
I am doing wonderful, wonderful. I am glad to have you all here this night.
Yay.
Yes, glad to be here.
And
Yes.
also we have our special guest tonight, Miss Priscilla,
Yes,
be telling her truth tonight. I
yes.
can't wait to hear what she has to say. And first of all, let me give a brief introduction to myself. I am Janice Love. I am the founder of this page, Divine Destiny Speaks. And also, I have my co host, Miss Tamasha Rosser, and she is on the platform, ready to speak, ready to do whatever. Miss Doctor, can we get a round of applause for Dr. Tamasha?
Thank you.
And also, we have our special guest, Mrs. Priscilla. And Miss Priscilla, can you give us a little brief introduction about yourself?
Yes, I am Priscilla Chappell. I am 46 years old. I'm from Alabama, born and raised. Um, and I'm here to tell my story.
All right. Miss Tamasha, for those of you that don't know her, Tamasha, can you give a brief introduction about yourself?
I will. Hi, my name is Dr. Tamasha Rosser. I am a transformational speaker and a life coach. I focus on the mindset and helping people cultivate a positive mindset. My motto is: if you can whip it in your mind, you can whip it in your life. So I help people develop a positive mindset so that they can have a positive life.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and break it down tonight, guys. We're gonna go ahead and start in. Hey, Eric. Eric, say hello, everyone.
Hey, Eric.
Hello.
So we're gonna go ahead and listen to Miss Priscilla's story. So
Yeah.
go ahead and give us a little something.
All right then. So I'm gonna start with when I was a young child. One reason why I started telling my story because, like I said, when I went home 4th of July weekend, it was like a shift. Things got like this changed for me to look at life different. And when I went home and I come back, I was like, God had told me at my mom house said that it's time for you to tell people, let people know, the real you and being honest with yourself because you've been holding things deep down. So I'm gonna start off with when I was young because it all started with my kids too. I was what when I was a child growing up, I was raised by my grandma, and I'm sure a lot of us was. But when I was coming up, my mom used to live with me, and we lived with my grandmama. But what a lot of pain I held against her was I was always wondering and questioning my grandmama. I was like, well, why every time my mom leaves, she don't never take me? I'm her child too. And I was standing and I'm sitting here right now talking to y'all and I'm looking, I can see myself standing at that door and looking at her, looking at my mom, her car with my brother. And every time she come back and live with us, she just takes him. Why
Mhm.
not take me? What was it about me that I never went? I heard stories over the year, well, we'll get you, but your grandmama come and get you. And I understand that. I get that. But at the time, I'm looking for a mother love. I'm like, what was it about my brother? You would take him, but you would never take me.
Mhm.
Why was I always left out? So I go on in years with my grandmama, and I'm not saying my grandma didn't love me because she did, but it was just I was looking for that mother love.
Right.
So a question come about with one of my children. One another reason why I want to tell my story is because I have my second oldest child told me, said, Mom, she had done had a child by then. She said, you never told us that you loved us, hugged us, celebrated us, or nothing when we
Wow.
was young. You just, I'm not saying you're not a good mom, but you never gave us that I love you, a hug on us and embrace us. And so I started thinking about it and I was like, you know what, she right. Because at that time, I was 15 when I got pregnant. I was 16 when I had my first child. And I didn't know what I was doing when I had my first child. So when I had my first child, I moved, with my mom for a little bit. And I'm still thinking, I'm a child with a child.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, let me go and do. I'm still doing what I'm supposed to do. And when I had the first child, it was like, okay, my mom, she did step in and say, well, I'm gonna help you raise a child, and she helped me raise a child, and I'm still a teenager in the back of my mind, like, okay, what do I supposed to do? I got a baby. I'm still going to school. Doing what I'm supposed to do what I think I'm supposed to do as a parent at that time.
Mhm.
And so, she said, well, my grandmama, she was like, well, you have a baby, you're going to do what you need to do and raise them and raise her and all that. Well, go on, 18, I have another child, my second born child. And now by now I'm thinking, okay, now what I'm gonna do? I got two children at a teenage age. What I
Right.
supposed to do? How I'm gonna take care of them? I'm not working. I'm not bringing any type of money, even though you can go and get assistance and stuff like that. But I could take care of them like you want, like you're supposed to as a parent. And I'm gonna say this: when I didn't know nothing about raising a child, I didn't know nothing about um what only thing I knew was they need milk, get their diapers changed, and keep clean clothes on them. That's all I knew. I
Right.
didn't know nothing else. That's all I know. I didn't know that they needed love. They didn't that they needed nurturing or nothing. Only thing I knew was I needed to make sure they pamper change, clothes, milk, and they good. And I said it to say, when I say about my mother, is that I was still looking for that mother love. I still was because I was like, only thing she doing is just helping me raise them. And I was trying to figure out why I couldn't get the love that I needed because now I got to share this love because I got two kids.
Right.
So I goes on, I get 21. I have my twins. Now, when I have my twins, once again, I say this again, I didn't know nothing about raising kids. I just knew that at that time, I just knew only thing I knew how to do was provide. Make sure they got a roof over their head. Make sure they got clothes to go to school. Make sure they had that. Never did I ever, and I didn't think about it. Say, "Oh, I love you. Let me hug you, let me celebrate you, let me, do the things the little bitty things, the simple things of what I call now that's free, that, it don't hurt to utter, I love you. So to me, I felt like when I was doing them things like providing, protecting, and all that, to me, I felt like that was me giving love. I
Right.
felt like that was me giving the love without me saying that I love you. I felt like that was me giving you love by
Right.
not saying it. But they wanted me to utter the word. They wanted me to say, I love you. And each one of my kids, I have to say got different personalities when it comes to me because their dads never was around. So I always had to figure out a way to support for them or
Right.
find out a way to get things for them. Yeah, it's easy to say, well, why you ain't go get child support? Or why you didn't go get this to make sure that you had everything you need. I didn't know that. I didn't have nobody to say, hey, let's do this. You need to go do these things or this need to be done. And yes, I did. I tried to go get child support, but you go get child support back then when I was having my kids in the 90s and 2000s, it's not like it is now. Because then they could be put on child support, but they not going to jail. They not going to, getting all this other stuff done to them now that they do this day.
Right.
But so by the time, like I said, by the time I turned, I think I had Candace when I was almost 30, my last baby. Skipping on my last baby, is when I learned she was the one who turned me to be a mom. That's when I realized. I said, you got 5 kids. What you gonna do?
Yeah.
What you gonna do in life? What are you gonna do? What type of sacrifices that you gonna have? Because at that time, when I was having my kids, I only thought about was me.
Right.
Never thought about. Only thing I was thinking about was me. Me having what I need or what I wanted to do. Me doing what I needed to do for me. Yes, like I said, I provided, I protected, made sure they had roofs over their head, made sure they had clothes, made sure they had everything that they needed.
Right.
But it never was okay. So let's sit down and have a chit chat because I tell people all the time I was a tough mom. When I say tough mom, I was like a mom was never let my children go spend the night with nobody, never let them do things that kids supposed to do when they come up.
Mhm.
They was found dated to the house because I was so afraid of them not getting the love that I felt that they deserved. So I would, I guess you would say, huddle them or keep them close so that they wouldn't get hurt like I had been being hurt over the years, or the anger that I had built up in me, or the pain that I had built up over time. And so I was felt like I didn't want them to get it. But throughout the years of me having them and going through with them, going back, just going back, I had gotten some trouble. And the trouble was I really didn't get in no trouble. It was just because of a man. Basically, my kids, when I say when I really decided, okay, this I'm finna be a mom, it was a guy, my kid's dad, decided on that he was, I think my oldest child probably about 7. I think she was 7, and my other kids was, younger. But he decided on that he was going to leave them, at home, and left them at home by themselves. And they got out the house, and where we was living at, it was a trash can out there. Okay. So trash, and some people took some pictures of them out there eating out the trash can.
Wow.
Yeah, took some pictures of them eating out the trash can. So me and my aunt was at work. I was at work, and what y'all probably call defects out here, we call DHR. So I get a phone call at my job, and they said, "Well, we have your kids." Now, me being young as I was thinking, "Okay, you got my kid." So they in safety. They was like, "We got them at the 911 station," not letting it register in my head. Okay, why you got them at the 911 station? So I was like, "Okay, well, I'm on my way to come get them." I gets down there at the 911 station, and they say, Miss Chappelle, you going to jail. Going to jail? What I'm going to jail for? They said, because you are the mother is the one who supposed to protect and supposed to know who you leaving your child with. I left my children with their daddy. It don't matter. It doesn't matter because the state law, I had to read up on it for myself. The state law is that you are the protector, the provider, the everything to them. So when you leave them with someone, you supposed to know that they're gonna protect them at all costs. I goes to jail. I got in jail. The next day I go to court. I gets up there and I tell people this all the time. The judge, Judge Hardesty, I commend her because she told them people, she said, go ahead, because they had me shackled like I was a mass murderer when I went to court. And she told them to take the handcuffs off her because she going home today.
Wow.
But they already had my children to be separated in different homes. I already had the people, already, had the people there to take them and separate them and put them in different homes. And I was, I'm standing there, I'm looking, I'm like, what's going on? But this is why I picked up the respect for my mom. She stood up in the courtroom, and I'm not gonna call everybody who was there in the courtroom with us, but she the one who stood up and she said, I'm not gonna let y'all separate my grandchildren. I'm gonna take them,
Right.
every last one of them. I'm gonna do whatever I needed to do, whatever I need to do to take care of them. I'm gonna do it.
Right.
And so the judge, she was looking, and she was like, Miss Chappelle, you sure? She said, yeah. She said, I'm not gonna let y'all separate them. I want them to come home with me. And I'm looking because I'm thinking, okay, everybody, even though they my children, but I'm saying, okay, she stepped up at the right time. But she took them, and we go on, and for almost 2.5 years, I want to say 2.5 years, I had to go. The stipulation of it was I could see my kids for one day, for 1 hour, and we had to go into a facility for 1 hour every Wednesday. I couldn't go to my mama house. I
Wow.
couldn't go. My mama couldn't come out to my house. It was just for 1 hour. After they gave us that, we left. I go home. Lord's will. I walk into my place, and the guy was sitting in my house, and he asked me where my kids was, and I don't know if I blacked out or what I did, but anyway, when I come to, I'm in jail again.
Wow.
So, and they telling me I done harmed him, I harmed him or whatever, and I'm back in jail again. And I'm standing there looking at my mama through the jail, and she was like, "Is you tired? Is you tired? Because now you back in jail again." And so I get out, like no, get out. And the stipulation of my when I got out, because the stipulation was when I got out, I had to do 8 weeks of parenting classes. I had to do 6 weeks of anger management, and I had to do 12 months of counseling. And I tell anybody, I hear people talking about you need counseling, and all they might be saying it for a joke or whatever, but in reality, people that counseling helped me
Right.
work through a lot of things. And I say that she was the first person I ever told about the problem that I had and the hurt that I had with my mom about not taking me as a young child, and like she was choosing my brother over me.
Right.
And when we did our first few sessions, I wouldn't say nothing. But she stuck in there with me. She said, I'm gonna come every week. You gonna start talking when you get ready. and I would never say nothing. And about the fifth or sixth session, maybe the seventh, that's when I realized I was like, okay, maybe she care. So I'm gonna open up. And I did. And we went on for that for about a year. And and throughout that I was like, oh, even though I was having my ups and downs and I hadn't went to court yet or nothing for all the incidents or whatever. But when I did go to court and the judge told me that I was charged with abandonment, what was it? Abandonment, um it was about 4 charges. And he said that we gonna sentence you to 10 years, 10 years imprisonment.
Wow.
I said, 10 years. I'm standing up here, me, my mom, and my grandmama. I'm standing up there in the court and I'm thinking like 10 years imprisonment for something, because I'm trying to understand I was the one who did it, but they blame me for it. So I was like, that's another strike on me, because how I'm gonna protect, how I'm gonna, how I'm gonna provide. I'm thinking about my kids.
Yeah.
But they gave me, he said 10 years. And I looked at my mom, I looked at my grandmama, and I was just like, I'm in disbelief. I couldn't say nothing. So I just fell to my knees and started just crying, because I was like, I'm so hurt.
Right.
And they took me to the back, took me to the back of the courtroom, and he said, I'm gonna recall your case. He said, because it's gonna be up to the people if they decide on they want to give you probation. But if you don't get probation from that day, from that courtroom when I got ready to leave, I was gonna be going to prison.
Right.
So I go to the back, and I probably back there maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I come back out, and they recall me back up there to the front. And by the grace of the Lord, I don't know what the judge thought about, but the judge was like, "We're gonna give you 10 years probation,
Mm. Mm.
but you're gonna have a lot of fines to pay."
Wow.
And that's what he did. He gave me 10-year probation, and I had to report every month. You know how they do the probation, even all the way down to, because someone had done convinced them that I was on drugs, or say I was using drugs or something. Something I ain't never smoked a cigarette a day in my life. I ain't never did no type of drug, and I'm not a drinker.
Right.
So it was kind of harsh, because I was like, why me, God? Why? Why is my journey going this way? What is my lesson behind it? What is you trying to show me as I go on? Because I say all my children, I feel like the reason why I had them was a blessing, because if I didn't have kids, my life probably would be a different way. But then I look at it, my life is how it's supposed to be, because I had them the way I did.
Right.
But along the journey, I carried a lot of pain with me throughout the time. And I have to say this, when I'm gonna go back to when I was 18, was the first time that I seen my dad. And literally, like how we sitting right now, I was standing just like this with my dad. And Lord, what's my cousin soul right now, Michael? He got out the car with him, and we was at my granddad's house, and me and two of my other friends, and my dad, he was standing there, and he was just standing there looking at me. You would think, oh, I ain't seen you embrace you and hug you and stuff like that. But he just stood there and looked at me, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, he don't know who I am. Because he didn't. He didn't know who I was. My cousin had to tell him that, cuz, this your daughter. This is your daughter. And I got so angry about it because I'm saying I had 2 kids. You ain't seen them, and you ain't seen me. So I gets in my mom's car and my 2 friends, and we left. I cried all the way down that road because I was so hurt and devastated that he didn't know who I was. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, now this another hurt too, because I'm like, first it was my mom with this, and then now my dad. Okay, what my love? What do I find love at?
Right.
Because that's and that was my explanation to my second born was, and now that I told her this already, that because I didn't know how to give y'all love because I felt like I wasn't getting love. Yeah, I felt like I wasn't getting love, so I didn't know when I felt that I wasn't getting love. So I didn't know how to give it to you.
Right.
Nothing but to provide and make sure you had everything, the essentials. Not knowing that it was I want you to tell me to tell y'all I love y'all. Now I do that. I do that now, but they have carried it with them, and now they bringing it up. So it's like I said, well, I need to do better because I have my faults too. I can't just point the finger at everybody else. I point the finger at myself too because there was some things I could have changed along the way throughout life with choices. But like I said, it was just like I was looking to try to grab a little piece of love somewhere. If somebody said, I love you, okay, you love me? Okay, I'm looking for that. I'm
Right.
gonna try to grab a little bit of it, much as I can, no matter what the obstacles or no matter what the sacrifices was, no matter what anything was. If you giving it to me, some type of love, then I was like, oh, okay, maybe they might be right. Maybe they might do this. And to go back to about the guy, they dad, whatever. It took me 25 years to get away from him. 25 years of my life. 25 years because I kept even after the incident even happened with the kids and I get my kids back and after 2.5 years, um, I still was fooling with him. Even after all that, even after I found out the reason why he wasn't there with the kids, then I still was fooling with him.
Wow.
I was still some type of way he was still in my circle of life because I was I guess I ain't gonna say I guess I'm gonna say I know that he wasn't no good for me, but because I was comfortable, had done got comfortable with what he was doing, instead of me saying no, this is not what you need to do. I was still just like because I'm gonna say when I would move on with someone else, but I would always come back to him because if that person showed me something different that I felt like that he didn't show me, then I would go back to him because I wanted whatever he was showing me,
Right.
regardless if it was good or regardless if it was bad. So I endured whatever he was pushing out. I just kept enduring it, just kept going over and over and over and over, you know. And so I said, well, no, after them 25 years of going through different pain and different obstacles and things like that, I said, you know what? It's time for me to stop. And what happened was I was in church and the pastor, my cousin, was preaching. And when he said what he said, I said, he talking about me. He talking about me because even though I was with this other person, I'm still entwining with him. And I said, hey, he talking about me. I said, I got to get better. So my focus was to try to get back to God because I had done lost faith. I'm telling you, on God truth, I had done lost faith because I felt like you want things to happen, but it don't happen right then. So you feel like, okay, I'm being punished. So I'm just gonna do what I need to do. So I had done lost my faith in God. I had done just took God out of the picture. I was sending my kids to church, but I wouldn't go. They started with the church van. They would come pick up my kids to go to church, but I would never go. I would just stay at home and let them go. Then they'll come back and they tell me they experienced at church and all that, and then I'd be like, "Oh, okay then." But I never would go. I would always stay at home. So like I said, I lost faith in God until that day. I was in church and he was preaching at me, and I said, "Okay, so it's time for you to straighten up. It's time for you to get some act right. Let's do it." And soon as I started doing it and started getting back into church and listening to, trying to get my faith, building my faith back up, I started seeing changes. Like, okay, well, see, you should have been doing this a long time ago. But soon as I get my faith back, I lose my cousin. He passed. So I was like, okay, God, here we go. Now I done built my faith back up, but then you take him away. The one person I felt like, that I was connected with to get faith and all that, even though you're supposed to walk on your own faith, but I always believe that sometimes you speak to people who might lead you to the right direction to God. It ain't just got to be the pastor. It could be a stranger off the street could walk up to you and say something that might click and say, "Oh, this is what you need to do." I always believed in it, and I always tell people I always needed help because help with knowing me as a person or knowing my faith or help me strengthen my faith into God. Either way, I always said that I need help. And I need help always used to be a problem with me saying I need help. I used to just say, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it on my own. I don't need help. I got it. And I say this, walking with people and seeing people saying I need help, and I say, well, I help you. I don't mind helping people, but I never help myself. I will run and turn a cartwheel for somebody else, but I would never turn a cartwheel for me.
Do you think that had played a part in what you went through with your mom, like people pleasing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I always been a people pleaser. I always have been. Anything, I always been the person of when if somebody asks me to do something, I'm gonna break my neck and try to do it,
Right.
regardless what the consequences be afterward. I will go ahead and do it and be like, okay, I'm gonna do it for you. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And then it was like, okay, that's great. But at the end of the day, once I sit down and realize, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what about me? Because when I'm hurting or when I'm crying or when I'm always alone. I don't never have nobody here to hug me or tell me it's gonna be okay or nothing.
Right.
It just, I'm always by myself. But when somebody else need me, I'm always sitting beside them, hugging them, telling them it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be all right. So yeah, you're right. With being a people pleaser, I always have been that person.
Yeah.
But for some reason, like I said, when I went home this past weekend, I was like, you know what? It's my time.
Yeah.
It's my time for me. Whether you like it or whether you don't. Whether you accept it or you don't. I don't want to be like that in the world because I have a lot of people that I told on my shoulder, but I'm starting to see that, okay, I can't tow everybody. Everybody that come with me can't walk through with me.
Right. That's absolutely.
Yeah. Everybody that come through with me can't walk through there with me. So, I'm starting to accept that fact now that I need to find a different way in life and learning how to embrace the things. I don't I'm not a very quick person to get excited about something because I never have received uh gifts and stuff. You know, you get the little random little stuff that you're supposed to get Mother's Day, Christmas
Yeah.
gifts, stuff like that. But throughout life, I never had what I'm like that person where somebody just be like, oh, just because,
Right.
or you're special, or and stuff like that. Not saying that's what I'm looking for, but at the same time, it would be nice to be recognized as someone special.
Yeah.
uh, something like that. Because I am a woman, so little bitty things. I ain't asking for nothing because I ain't never been a person when it comes to financials and stuff like that. Um, and I feel like this is some of the reason where I am too when I protect me in a way is because I never had a person come into my life and be like, just relax yourself, and let me take the role. You don't have to be the alpha all the time. You can just relax and be cool and sit back. And some of it, I can listen to it, but then I'll be like, I'm afraid to let that alpha role, come down because every time I do, it seems like I'm the one who get hurt. If I it's like I built myself to be where I'm at, but then it's like I always been the one who take care of everything.
Right.
To make sure everything in order, make sure everything is, you intact, make sure everything is great. But at the end of the day, I sit in my bedroom. That's why I tell all the time. I do it now, and I just cry, and I just be like, that's why I release. I just be like, oh my God, help me, and stuff like that. Let me move on to the next day because I try to swallow what people put out, but I'm not gonna do that no more. I'm not gonna swallow when things happen. Now I'm gonna speak up instead of carrying it
Right.
to the
Right.
next day.
This I
Yeah.
want something, Priscilla. I want to first thank you for, coming on and, sharing your story with us. Um, with and I got several questions, but I want to ask the one that you were just talking about that alpha role and
Mhm.
um being in control. Have you been able to get to a place where you can allow someone to come in and take that role? And I ask that because I am familiar with that. Being the one always doing something, want to be in control. But what I realized was early on in my marriage is that I wasn't giving my husband the space to be the husband. Like I was taking up the space. And
Mhm.
so have you like made the space, even if the person isn't there just yet, but be able to cultivate that space so when they do show up, they can get into that space of being in the alpha role and you not take over it.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna say you are correct. It's kind of like a hard thing for me, because I've been doing it for so long. So no, I haven't. I have let one person do that, and it was my fiance that got killed on a four-wheeler in 2019. In 2019, I let him do that. I let him, take control of things, not control, but just come into my life. Cause he literally set me down and told me, said, "Hey, look, I know you've been doing it. I know you've been doing this, but
Right.
hey, I'm a man." He literally set me down and said that I'm a man, and I'm going. this is what's gonna be going on. And if you don't want that, then hey, let's go ahead and not waste our time, because I'm gonna be the man of my house.
Right.
Right.
Like that. He literally told me that. And so I started, bagging up a little bit, trying to see what it was gonna be like. But that it still was that woman intuition still like kicking my butt, like, girl, you've been doing it, but I kind of let him do it. But in 2019, he ended up getting killed on a four-wheeler. And it was like a good punch because I was like, oh my God, we supposed to have got married and all that. And the only thing I can think about is it's like, they said some people know when it's their time or whatever, because he kept telling me that whole month, the same month that he got killed, he just kept telling me, he said, let's go get married. And I was like, no, I want, the nice wedding, and stuff and all that. But he didn't want that. He was just like, babe, we can go up here and get married in the courthouse, and I do, and that's it. But if you still want to have it, we can. But I just want to be your husband. That's all. He just kept telling me that.
Mm-hmm.
He all that month, he was just like, let's go to the courthouse and get married. If you still want to have this little whatever you want to have, then you can have it. But I just want to be your husband. But I kept saying no. That kept beating me up. And the last thing me and him ever said to each other, we had a disagreement. That same day he got killed.
Mm-hmm.
We had a disagreement that same day. And so I was like, oh my God. That was the last words that he heard from me, and the last words I heard from him before I see him laying, in the hospital and had them paid. Those was the last words we had. So yes, I have, and I can use, and Miss Janice know a little bit of the situation that I got with my other friend now. He's like that. He told me, he said, you always want to be the alpha. You don't want, you won't let me be the alpha because you've been doing it for so long by yourself. You feel like that I'm trying to come in and take over. No, I just want to be the man in the relationship. We can't be two men in the relationship.
Right.
I think sometimes that comes with healing and
Yeah,
trusting.
yeah,
Being that you went through such a hardship with your mom growing up, it's kind of like a defense mechanism. Like you learn how to cope with just doing things on your own, not trusting anyone because you don't want to be the one to get hurt.
yeah,
And that trauma goes into your adulthood. It goes
Mm-hmm.
into your adulthood whenever you start dating. You trust enough just for them to stay a little close to you, but not enough for them to take care of you, not enough to them to love you to your fullest capacity. So I think, your story is kind of similar to mine. Like when you were sitting here talking about like you growing up and you living with your grandparents, well, your grandmother, it was the same way for me. And like I thought about all the things that I had to like heal, even with me being in a marriage and all the
mhm,
things that I've, like, for me, that was something that I struggled with. Like it was hard for me to allow someone to take care of me. That was
yeah,
so hard. I felt
mhm,
like I had to be in control of everything. And it wasn't because I didn't think that they could provide for me. It was because I had a fear of losing control.
yeah,
I needed to feel that I was in control of everything at all times. I didn't want to put myself in a situation where I gave someone total control over me. And
yep,
that came from my childhood. So when
mhm,
you talk about that, I'm just sitting here listening to everything that you said, and I'm like, wow, like I resonate with that so
yeah,
much because
yeah,
we as women, we go through a lot of traumas and we carry those traumas. And not only women, men as well. we can carry those into relationships and even friendships. Not
Yeah.
being able to trust someone enough to love us the way we love, so we overlove them, and
Yeah.
we get mad because they don't give us that love, but we never gave them the space. To what Tamasha said, we never gave them the space to love us. We wanted to be in control of every narrative.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. And that is me. Because I do. When I love hard. I love you to from the bottom of your head to the top of your feet. But like you said, I don't want if I feel like that I'm not, you know, in control of what's going on, because I'm gonna be 100 with you. I have trust issues,
Right.
and it comes from childhood on up through life because of different types of people I have dealt with in my life. I
Right.
have trust issues, and if I see anything, and I know they say you don't supposed to bring nothing from your past to your present, but if I feel like that you giving something of what I done seen in the past, then see, I'm just gonna go straight to that. Like, okay,
Right.
you moving like that. So no, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
I don't trust you. And I be honest, like I don't trust I trust you in this area, but I don't trust you in this
In
area.
that aspect.
Yeah. I don't trust you to be like, okay, I trust you to protect me, but I don't trust you into giving enough room for you to get into my heart where it's like, okay, you gonna crush it.
Right.
I'm gonna be over here hurt again. I'm gonna be sitting here looking, and you gonna be going on with your life, and I'm gonna be sitting over here looking crazy or
Right.
looking like, I done lost everything in the world. And
Right.
like I said, I'm just tired of going through that. I'm tired of being ran over because I feel like that's what I do. I let people run over me. When I say run over me, I'm saying like let you say whatever you want to say, do whatever you want to do, and I just be okay with it. I just be like, oh, okay, it's okay,
Right.
like that. Instead of saying what I feel right then, I just hold it, and it's like it's not a grudge. It's more like okay, I know my limits with you, so I'm not gonna say
Right.
nothing else to
I'm gonna say, yeah.
you. Yeah, I don't have nothing else to say to you because you already showed me how you feel about me. So I'm gonna just keep my distance, and just go on and just bypass you and go on with myself. But as I'm looking, I'm thinking to myself a lot of things in my life. I always did that. I always was a person. If something not in my control, I would leave. And people who know me will tell you I would. I would pack up and I would drop everything wherever it's at, just drop it and go somewhere else and start over.
Right.
And don't even worry about whatever I had. Just okay, that's okay. I'm gone. I ain't got time for it. Because I'm not a confrontational person. So I just that's what you want. Okay, okay. I'm out of here. I'm
So
gone.
let me ask you this, Priscilla. Have you ever dealt with rejection? Like your the fear of rejection. So going back from your mom to standing at that door and the fact that you still have that image
Yeah.
in your
Mhm.
means that it's planted there. Um
Right.
Yeah,
means that it's still some more room for some healing from
yeah,
that aspect. Even in you sitting and telling the story today, it's still
mhm,
for some healing because
yeah.
for that to be so vivid in your mind from being a 6 or 7 year old girl to how old are you now?
46.
46 means that in that aspect and that area, and I know you said on the fourth was when you just had kind of to the point of wanting to be able to speak out and tell your story, and
Right.
that is part of the healing process. But
Mm-hmm.
also I want you to dig deeper into rejection,
Right.
because that was also in wondering why do she take him and not me, that set up rejection in you as if your mom rejected you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
as you have, went on, even with your cousin, when he passed, you could have took that as rejection. Like you
Right.
could have death as rejection, that he left me too. You know what I mean? Even all the way over to God, that in
Mhm.
some aspects you can feel like you've been rejected by God as well. And so
Right.
spirit, and once you heal from that rejection and know that you wasn't rejected, that you didn't have any control over why your mom didn't take you, and the decision that she chose to make, and that the timing of your cousin transitioning, that that didn't have anything to do with you, and it wasn't a part of you. Because what it seems like is a lot of things that you dealt with in life, you've internalized them to say that in some aspect it's your fault.
Yeah.
And so you got rejection, you got walls built up to keep people at a distance. That's why you don't respond to anything, or kind of let people know, put them in their place, because we can put people in their place in a good way, and
Right.
good way. But in not doing that, it's part of that wall being built up. And instead of dealing with this, I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna separate myself. But then that doesn't deal with the issue. And then
No.
the third thing is forgiveness. Learning
Hmm.
to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these things that happen to you, you are blaming yourself for what happened to you. And
Right.
it's fault. And God wants you to forgive yourself.
I absolutely agree with Tamasha on that. Um, just knowing you for the short period of time that I've known you, I can see that you are a person with a very big heart, and you will, give your all to someone. And to hear, your story, and to kind of understand like the background of like what the things that you went through, it's
Mhm.
like, okay, now I can understand. Because usually when people are rejected as a child, they worry a lot about pleasing other people. And you have healthy pleasing and you have trauma pleasing. And
Yeah.
I think trauma pleasing is more so where you kind of go out of your way to make sure everybody is okay, even when you possibly know that it's going to pull you down. You
Yeah.
still like, let me do it, let me do it, let me do it, let me do it. And it's in a way, it kind of make you feel like a certain type of way when you're
Yeah.
doing that. It kind of make you feel like validated.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know that because again, I was there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was there once. So I'm able to recognize that in a sense, because I've dealt with that, the
Mhm.
pleasing, the over pleasing. And again, um some things are just embedded in us,
Yeah.
by being a good person and just wanting to help other people. But when we go over and beyond to the point where it's that thing that we're doing to help someone is putting a toll on us, then we're extending something to someone else to make us feel a certain type of way, or make us feel like like a type of acceptance, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true because what she spoke on, I couldn't think of the word what I wanted to say, but she said it. When I don't like rejection,
Yeah.
I'm very afraid of rejection. I
Yeah.
don't like for nobody to tell me no.
Yeah.
And so if I feel like that's what's gonna occur, I don't extend a conversation, or I don't ask for it, or I don't, even though I don't, it could be a yes. But if I feel like that I'm gonna be rejected,
Right.
I'm gonna just let it go, drop it. I'm gonna do it my way. I do it my way because I be like, now if I ask this person to do this, they're
Yeah.
gonna probably say no. I'm already thinking that they're gonna
Oh,
say no.
no.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm already thinking that they're gonna say no, so I don't ask nobody. I just take whatever it is and just and do it my way.
Right.
And so she hit a key point about that. That is what it is. I don't like rejection. I don't like for people to basically just say no. I
Right.
don't like it at all. Cause it takes me to like you said, back to my childhood because I'd be like, my granny never told me no.
Hmm.
But to me, I felt like my mom was telling me no, or
Right.
telling me that I wasn't worthy to go,
Right.
wasn't worthy to let me embrace her. And the
Right.
reason and I say that about my brother because my brother, um, the one by my mom, he said something over the weekend, which was true. He said, "Me and my sister never had no brother in love connection. We haven't because we wasn't raised in the same household.
Right.
Even as we got older, we wasn't even raised in a household. We always was in two separate households.
Mm.
So it wasn't that we knew that we was brothers and sisters, but we wasn't raised to like love each other as a brother and sister. We knew we were brothers and sisters, but we wasn't like a brother and sister should be. Oh, I got you, you got me, like that. We
Y'all
wasn't
never had
like that.
that bond.
We never had that bond. And to this day, right now, we don't even have that bond. But he mentioned it this past weekend. He was like, sister, it's time for us to fix it
Wow.
Right.
Right.
because we don't have no type of bond with each other. We just only time we get together and discuss anything if something happened to my mom. If
Right.
something happened to my mom, then we like, oh, that, but nothing with just us. Nothing where
Right.
we have our time for ourselves, like a brother and sister should. We don't
Right.
have that type of bond. But if
Right.
natural with your mom, if something happened to your mom, you gonna everybody running. You gonna
Full on.
run here, try to see what's going on.
Right.
But and that was something because I was like, he's telling the truth. We never have.
Right.
We never had that. I'm gonna go to my brother's house and he gonna come to my sister's house and and stuff like that. We just and even our kids don't even. He got kids, I got kids, and they don't even communicate. They
Wow.
know each other. They know who they are, but they don't even have no type of
Relate.
communication, relationship, or nothing like that. Yeah, we have that natural. If I see you, hey, how you doing?
Right.
You doing all right? That natural. What we do as humans, but it's not like a family unity. Oh, I'm going to my cousin's house. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do, nothing
Right.
like that. So it's like I was like, dang, he telling the truth about that. We don't have no bond because he did say one thing. He said, sister, he told my mama this. He said, sister left, and him and my mom stay not even 5 minutes away from each other, and they don't even see each other.
Wow. Yeah.
And he was like, but I'm not saying it's you, mama, but I'm saying that you part of it,
Right.
you know. And you part of this bond that me and my sister never had. We all have to answer for things.
Right.
That's my biggest thing in life is with what I felt like. And like you said, I do. I can stand here. I'm sitting here in my house right now and can see me standing at the door of my grandmama's house. And my grandma is dead and gone. And I can see us standing at the door where my mama walked out every time and got in her car with my brother and left. Not look back, not turn your head, not do nothing. Just and I was like, okay, granny. And I even asked my granny, and she never would say nothing. She just used to say, "Baby, I got you." That's all she used to say.
Now, do
Baby.
you that also caused some resentment against your brother? Um, because and not like I guess directly because you probably knew that it wasn't your brother who
Mhm.
chose to go, but still like it still could have caused like um some inner conflict of why she choose him over me. So cause like any type of inner like kind of conflict to that could have contributed to why you and him didn't have that brother and sister conflict. I mean that brother and sister bond.
Yeah, I can say, yeah, I did have a little resentment because I was like, what was it about him that I didn't have? And by me being the oldest child, so I was like, well, I'm not the oldest child because my mom had 3 kids and one passed from Sid there. But I'm, considered the oldest child. So I was like, what was so important about him? The reason why you only took him instead of not taking me,
Okay.
both of them. If you were gonna pick a child, why not pick the girl and leave the boy behind, like that. So yeah, a little resentment, but as we got older, a lot of the resentment with me and him was because, you know, people would say little things like, "Oh, your sister done had a child at 50, she done got pregnant at 15 and yeah, pregnant at 15 and 16. She had a baby, and now she pregnant again with another baby, and and stuff like that. So he had to deal with that coming up, and so he looked at me differently because he has other sisters too on his daddy's side, and he just and this is what I feel. I feel like he looked at me differently because of I didn't have that teenage life of when he was coming up. Like I said, we were in two separate households. So by the time he ever came close to wherever I was, it was like you a mom already.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about women's? What can you tell me about anything when you already done became a woman at an early age?
Yeah.
That's how I felt like how he was looking at me like that. So even though after that we didn't even have a close bond. Yeah, we do, like I said, we do the natural family thing, like go to basketball games, go to football games, the natural little stuff that we do when we come up. But we never had that bond. So yeah, I did have a little resentment because I was like, I'm his sister, I'm his sister, really, regardless of what we got going on, I'm still your sister either way. But in a way, like I said, I guess it started with my mom, that it could have been different. If I think it would have been different if she had took me and showed us love in both ways, regardless, because I feel like it could be something rooted in her too that she probably haven't never talked to us about
Right.
that she had going on when she was coming up young.
And
Because
I
I don't
you
go
like
ahead.
ever like talk to your mom about why she never took you. Like have y'all had that conversation?
No, we haven't because I'm gonna say this. My mom is a fearless woman, and I always been that child that when she say something, I would, back away, be like, okay, mama done said what she had to say, and that's the end of the conversation. You know,
Right.
like that, just back up and be like, okay, mama done said what she said, and I'm done,
Right.
and when she said it's over with, it's concrete and all that. So no, I always had fear of telling her
Hmm.
how I felt because I felt, I didn't want her to feel like, okay, I'm hurting your feelings by telling you this.
Telling you this. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm finna hurt your feelings about this. You get what I'm saying? So it was like, should I tell her? Should I not tell her? And I used to always sometimes come close to telling her that how I felt about it.
Hmm.
But every time I got close to it, it was just like, okay, so let's swallow it, you know.
Right.
I was scared. I was scared. I was really in fear because I didn't know what the action was gonna be behind it once I told her.
I honestly think that that's a conversation that you do need to have with her. And the reason why I say that is because when you tell your truth and you allow her to tell her truth, you may never know what she may have went through in order, and during her earlier years before you came, she might have
Yeah.
been still grieving a loss of a child. It could have been many different things, or even during her childhood, her mother may not have given her the love and affection and attention that she gave you. And
Mhm.
I would say for my grandparents on my mother's side, I can remember um I felt like they was like the best grandparents. Like
Yeah.
on my mom and my dad's side. Like I was like,
Yeah.
man, I have like a good, like it was just good.
Mhm.
But it wasn't until my mom was passing, I had a conversation with her, and the stories that she told me, she made it seem like they were just this awful people, like her parents. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I never got that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Never saw that. So, and she went through a lot of childhood trauma. So I think, you know, what you're saying, should you should have a conversation with your mom just so you can get her side and let her know, like, mom, you know, I'm having this conversation with you not to judge you, but just to understand, because I'm trying to make some sense of my life.
Yeah.
And when you put it to her in those terms and she began to open up and tell you what the things she went through, it'll be better for you. Because like I said, there's a lot of things I didn't know about my mom, and I had a lot of resentment towards her um
Mhm.
over the years. I loved her, but there was a lot of things that I'm like, I was kind of like you know, why you had to leave me? You know, why you left me behind? You went and lived your life. You left me with my grandparents. You know, I had to grow up with my grandparents. I didn't have a mother. I didn't know how it felt to be loved by a mom. I was missing a mom's love. But it wasn't until I gave her that space to be vulnerable with me and say, hey, look, this is what I went through. This is why I made this decision to give you away. This is why. And it made sense once she
Yeah.
broke it down to me. And when she broke it down to me, I began to heal. I'm talking about right then and there. I could feel like a shift. And there was other parts of my life to start to unlock because everything started to make sense. I can start piecing together certain things, even the relationship that I was in. Like I could connect the dots to everything in my
Yeah.
life. So I do feel that that should be necessary for you to sit down and have a conversation with your mom about how you feel and let her know, like, mom, I'm not doing this to hurt you. I know you did the best that you could, but I'm doing this for us. I'm doing this so we can grow and we can heal together, and we can close these gaps between yourself, me, and my brother.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, like, are you still? Because for me, being a person, my mom transitioned when I was like 19 years old.
Right.
So, at being 47, that I still miss my mom. Like, there are some things that I still be like, oh man, like you know, still wish I had a mother. So
Right.
that do you still long for your mother's love? And that's why I asked that initial question about that conversation because and I know like them old mamas, like, I love you just kind of wasn't part of the vocabulary. Like in
Yeah.
some, like they were just more hardcore, more just disciplinaries, more than being able to show that love and affection. My mom was somewhat like that too. So it's like my dad was the one who showed like the love and come on girl, come on, let me do what I want to do. My mom was more like a disciplinary. And then my
Yeah.
dad died when I was like 13. So he died when I was younger. So then I
Yeah.
kind of was left with my mom. No, my mom loved me and I knew it. It just wasn't something that she communicated to me
Right.
on, a frequent. Even to the point that when my dad got ready to die, he was on his dying bed. And I remember being in his room practicing in my head for like 10 minutes, like, I love you. I love you. I love you. Just say it.
Right.
Just you know what I mean? And then before he transitioned, able to say, Daddy, I love you. But looking back and thinking like, why did it take so much for me just to say the words out of my mouth? to my,
Yeah.
I loved him. And so because you still have the opportunity to
Right.
um those wounds, and even at this age still be able to receive that love from now going forward, because as long as you live, your mom is always going to be older, and you always have gone through experiences prior.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you're always going to need her guidance in some aspect. And
That's
so,
true.
Yeah.
have y'all got into that, or to have that conversation, maybe to now to start bringing that bond together so that you can now still experience that mother's love that you didn't get when you were younger?
Right.
Oh yeah, I mean, like now, me and my mom is kind of like, we're real tight. She like my best friend,
Okay.
you
Right.
know. Yeah. So, but I still hold that in me, but I try to overlook it because that's my mom.
Right.
Um, she, yes, I do. I live here in Georgia, so it's like sometimes some things I be going through, I be like, dang, I wish my mama was him, you know, and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, pick up the phone and call her a phone call away, and
Right.
she answered the phone. So in a way, as I got older and throughout the years, I can tell like a difference of certain things, like that she do or she say. It's like she be like, well, I'm gonna, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna spend a little bit more time with her because I'm gonna say this. As I got older and I started having children, she started coming towards me more.
Okay.
Gotcha.
She started giving me more of her as I got older. When I got like 25, 30 years and up to now, it's like she was showing me more. And then it was, well, your brother think that I favor you more
Right.
because I spend more time with you.
Right.
But in my head, I'm like, okay, what about when you was giving all your time to him
Right.
and I wasn't receiving nothing? And I was like, is that selfish of me? Because I'm feeling that way. Like, okay, now I finally get to get my mom, but now my brother feel like that she don't give him enough time.
Right.
So it was like, so it's kind of like I was in the middle. It's like, is I'm being selfish because I want, you know, my mama finally giving me what I felt like I should have got when I was young,
I
but
don't.
now, go
Mm-mm.
ahead.
No, I'll say I
So
don't feel that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's how I feel now. Like how I felt before the 4th of July weekend. I was like, well, I don't get a lot of my mama because I always been the one who always moved away, and then moved away far away, and then my mama have to come well on back, or and stuff like that. I never was stationary until now.
Yeah.
When I moved here, my purpose of moving here was to find my way, get away from everything, get away from everybody, find something new, start a new chapter in my life, and just go on. That's what my purpose when I moved here.
Right.
And then when I came here, at first I started running into little stuff, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm finna leave. I
Right.
don't do well with people. I don't do with, like I said, the rejection. That's where the rejection come in. I don't do well with people that do all that rejection. I don't like drama. I don't like. I'm not a confrontational person. So if I see that somebody trying to be confrontational with me for no reason, when you don't know me and I don't know you, I would just be like, you know what? I'm gonna remove myself
Right.
from them. And that's how I was when I first come here. I was like, oh, I'm finna go. I'm not finna stay here because this is not it. But for some reason, it came and it was like, no. So you've been running all this time. Stop running. Quit running. You gotta stop running. You can't run all the time. You got to stay somewhere because it's not good to keep dropping stuff where it's at, because when you come back, it's gonna be still right there.
Right.
You can't run and not come back because you're gonna come back and it's gonna be still sitting there. So you got to face it straight ahead. So that's what I decided to do. And that's the only reason why I'm still here now, where I'm at now, because I said I gotta stop running. I've been running for so long,
Right.
just been running and running and running and running and running. And I said, no, I'm finna stop running. I gotta learn how to face whatever it is in front, whether it's bad, whether it's good, whether it's something that I need to work out for myself. And
Right.
I'm very prideful. I'm gonna say that too. I'm very prideful about certain things. When I say certain things, is like is that if like we talking now, and if I feel like that a person getting into my demeanor of trying to say something bad about me, to me I feel like I'm not a bad person. But if somebody say something bad about me, then I'm like, oh, this not my circle.
Yeah.
This not for me. I'm finna just step away from it. Walk away, because I don't want nobody to feel like, okay, well, she's not taking the rejection, or she's not taking the comment, she's not taking it. But like I told y'all, I'm at the point now where it's like, okay, so to drop that pride, swallow it, and go on and deal with and face whatever it is, you know, because people, I ain't gonna say people gonna be people, but until you walk a mile in my shoes, I'm gonna say that.
There you go. There you go.
Until you walk a mile in my shoes, you don't you, you will understand me, but understand the progress too, because I'm still a work in progress as I go on.
Right.
And one thing about it too, Priscilla, like so many things that you're saying, like I can relate to in my own personal life, my own personal walk.
Mhm.
Even when I was incarcerated, when I was 19 years old, and
Mhm.
my oldest son and his grandmama tried to take him. My mom died while I was in jail. Um, so like a lot of things that you're saying, building up that wall, having rejection, like I've dealt and had to come through like all of those things. And even to the point of, like living my life based on other people's perception of me. And
Mhm.
so you're in a point now where you're saying like, like, hey, don't push me too far now. Like I'm
Yeah,
here coming forth, but be careful what you say. And it's nothing wrong with that because hurt people tend to hurt people.
That's
And what
right.
yeah,
is another hurt person trying to speak their hurt into you. And
That's
so,
right.
mhm,
even in that path of healing, you still guard your heart. Well, who is allowed to plant seeds in there? Because we can come and be corrective to our brother and our sister and do it with love, do it with compassion, do it with grace, do it with mercy, the same way in which God handles us. And that's how I handle people. I don't come at people, oh, you shouldn't do this. That's
yeah,
not. I'm not nobody's judge and jury. I'm not here to
yeah,
say who going to hell and who ain't and who good and who bad. I'm just here to extend the same love,
Right.
grace, and mercy and compassion that God showed me. Because at the end of the day, ain't none of us more higher than the other one. The only reason
Absolutely.
may think that if that's our own thought process. And
That's right.
mhm,
that yes, you're on that healing path. Don't let nobody speak nothing into your spirit that don't supposed to be spoken. Anything that I feel like when God sends those people, you will know it because it'll be done with love. You won't feel now unless you still just because now sometimes we can still have the gloves up, and if we don't want to hear something. But one thing about God, and I can say in my own personal walk, if something offended me and I had my gloves up, later on, God would come back to me and let me know, Tasha, you were that way because you were not healed. That's still
Right.
an area for you. God always come back and reassure me if I took it the wrong way and if I needed to dig deeper to take a deeper look within myself. And so a lot of I had to stop because I got my perception from man. Like what they think about me? Oh, I mean, I wouldn't. It was a I wouldn't even dye my hair. Like in my 40s, I just started wearing color because in my mind, what are people going to think about me? I'm a 40-year-old woman. I'm a minister, and I got color in my hair. What are they going to say? You worried about man? You ought to be worried about me. What
Right.
Hey,
I'm
I
telling you,
can't even be mad at you about that because I'm just like you. Because it took me this long to start wearing color in my hair. I would not put no color in my hair.
I was
Mhm.
so afraid of what people would say. And let me tell you, when Sis met me, when Janice met me, my hair was red. And
Yep.
people, when I say this, they laugh because they think I'm joking, but I be dead serious. When I started wearing my hair red, God told me to dye my hair red and wear it red. He said because it will be an identifier. So when you walk in the room, people will put a face with a person. They'll be like, "Oh, that's her. That's the person who I seen." Then when I went from the red, I went to the ginger. Now I love it. I don't care what nobody say. Now I wear whatever color I want. But God had to get me out of that because for so
Yeah,
long I was in bondage to what
Right.
a perception of me was, what I should talk, how I should talk, what music I should listen to, where I should go, the things I should wear. I was in such bondage and captivity with that when
Right.
God freed me, he said, "All right, now I freed you. Now, if you go back and let man put you back in bondage, that's on you. But who the
yeah,
son is free indeed."
I
yeah.
just want to
You are
elaborate
cool.
uh,
Go ahead. Yeah,
what Tamasha said um, about God telling her do this because of the identity. That is actually how I was able to spot her. I didn't know anything about her, anything. One day she ended up on my news feed. I'm like, who is this lady on my news feed? She talking, she got this red hair, and she has some beautiful bedazzled nails. And I'm like, I don't know who, I didn't even know how she ended up on my news feed, but she was there. And her and I spoke at a conference, a women's conference. And I was coming out of my car going in, and I saw her getting out of her car. And I'm like, that's the lady with the red hair and the bedazzled nails. So I'm thinking that to myself.
Yeah.
So she's coming out, and I was like, oh my God, you are so beautiful. And she was like, thank you. You beautiful too. So we walk in, and they had a table just for the speakers. So I'm sitting down. She was off mingling. So I sat down at the table, and here she comes, like maybe about 10 minutes later. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Lord, this my friend. I was like, I don't know her from Adam and Eve, but this my friend because you keep putting this lady in my path. She show up on my news feed, and then now, I was just drawn to her. I don't know why, but I was. She sat down, and her and I started having an exchange. Ever since that day, we've been like, yeah, you sis.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
for her to say that God told her, I definitely believe that. Like, wholeheartedly believe that God gave her that identity of the red hair and her bedazzled nails.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do.
that is true because I used to have that problem when I was coming up with that too. Because believe it or not, I used to be a 300 plus woman,
Right.
and and so it wasn't that I had self confidence or nothing like that, or self esteem problems. It was that I was looking at, okay, people looking at me as this big woman,
Right.
and I can't do what skinny women did at that time. That's how I looked at it. I can't
Gotcha.
do like what skinny women do. So I got to the point. I don't know what happened, I to this day I can't even explain. All I know it was that in, I want to say 2004, maybe 2003, I had started working as a CNA. So I was a 300 some pound woman, whatever. And I probably say probably 2 weeks after that, I lost, when I say I probably was 100 pounds, maybe 120, went to 120 pounds. And
Right.
people, and I was like, I must be sick. Cause I was like, how did I go from a 300 something? Because I was praying to God. I said, I need to lose this weight. I need
Right.
to lose this weight because I was thinking that people wasn't accepting me because of the weight. Yeah, I thought people didn't accept me, and I was thinking like every time I turn around, people, talking and stuff. So I was like, oh my God, they talking about me because I'm this big woman or whatever. So I said, well, I'm gonna do what I need to do to lose the weight. So when Miss Tamasha said about the hair, I never would put no color in my hair. I would let it stay naturally black because you hear people saying, "Well, you put the color in your hair for? You don't need to put the color in your hair. But your hair naturally black. Why you putting all these different colors in your head and all that?" And so I just went naturally black until now. Now you said 40. It took me up to 40. I probably was 42, maybe 43 years old before I started putting some color in my head. And I still, to this day, I might put one piece, maybe two pieces, three pieces in there because of the lack of, listening to people saying you being different.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you want to change who you are? Why you want to put color in your head? Because they don't do nothing but change who you are. But I was like, well, wait a minute though.
Right.
It makes me, I like it.
Right.
So should I be mad about what people say about what I do for my own self? Should I be? Should I not say do self-love for me instead of worrying about what the self-love is for you?
Right.
So I was like, so I can resonate with that when it comes to that. But with me, you know what? I was just telling Roger about me, Miss Janice. I said how me and Miss Janice met. I said it was crazy. We were just sitting in the office, where we work at. And at first, I have to be 100. At first, when I first met Miss Janice, you know how your spirit just, it's like your spirit say, well, all us always in the lab together. So you can't really talk to a person without everybody being in there listening.
Right.
So we'll have our time. Because soon as I met you, I was like, all right, God, I hear you talking, but I can't talk to her in front of everybody because everybody, won't listen.
Right.
Everybody wants to listen, and all that. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna say nothing to her right now because people at the job would try to deter you from talking to certain people in the building because they done gave their opinion about who you are or what you are and this and that, and all that. So I was like, well, we'll have our time. So when we finally did get to talk, and because I don't talk to a lot of people, but when we finally did get to talk, I was like, okay, me and her kind of on the same page. We can go back and forth in because you know how we can go back and forth in a conversation.
Yeah.
And just go back and forth, and it be positive.
Yeah.
It don't be negative. Always be positive when we be talking. So I was like, you know what? I think that's why I come up with. I said, maybe me and Miss Janice, because me and Miss, always have talked about it. But I was like, I need a push though. I need a boost. I need a push. Somebody to push me to do it because me just doing it by myself. I was like, oh, I need, because you got to have certain type of aspirations about different stuff if you want to do it.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's why I said I had to thank you for getting me up and getting me to the point where I want to be able to do this because at first I was like, nah, I ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
Do it. But then I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
And I'm
Because
proud.
I was scared at first, but I was like, you know what? I am gonna do it. I'm gonna do it because one reason was because it was something that I needed to get off my chest.
Right.
And then another reason was because I wanted to just, let people know that no matter what we're going through or what we go through, that you can get through it one way or the other.
Right.
I'm finna go in the house. I feel
Look, them mosquitoes ass stuff.
I know them mosquitoes. The mosquitoes let you know.
Listen, right. They let me know I was out past my time.
Uh-huh.
Right. But
Yes.
now, Priscilla, I definitely want to thank you for your transparency and telling your truth.
Mhm.
It's not easy. Some people may feel like it is. It's not. So many people hover things, like they really hover over things that they don't want people to know, that they're not ready to talk about or tell, because they may have a fear of what other people, family, friends, might think of them. So that's a big step, being able to want to come on the platform and even speak. Like, I
Yeah.
remember when I first started doing lives, it was right after my mom passed away. Again, the only reason why I was able to like do a live was because my mama was transparent with me. Like, but it took her to be on her deathbed for her to be very transparent and open. And I started to talk and I started to tell my truth, because I was like, my God, like, God, you set me free in just an instant of me talking and speaking and telling my truth and telling people what I went through. It was like an instant relief. And
Yeah.
I'll encourage anyone to, like,
Mhm.
tell your truth, because I could remember vividly the load that was lifted off of me just by speaking the truth.
Yeah.
And just by understanding what my mom went through. And even after my mom passed, because I didn't know much about my mom's family. I
Yeah.
I knew like the very bare minimum of my mom's family. I knew her parents, of course, and her brother, her sister. Her sister had passed away, and I knew like people here and there, but I didn't know much about my mom's family because I grew up with my father's family. So
Yeah.
I began to like understand the history of even the things that I was dealing with from her telling her truth. And I was just like in awe, because I'm telling you, to this day, I'm on the journey that I'm on right now because my mama I decided to have a conversation with my mom, and my mom decided to be transparent with me. That is so important. That's so
Yeah.
important. I don't hold back from my kids because of that. I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm not perfect. If there's anything that you feel as a I need to get, better as a parent, let me know. Don't be afraid, because I don't want them to get older and have resentment towards me about something that I could have corrected.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's important. And thank you again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Masha, what you got cooking over there, girl? I know you got something in the air fryer.
No, I mean, just listening, like, even as you were just talking, I didn't realize like the similarities that we had, like with my mom's side of the family. And I don't know if you seen me post last weekend.
Uh-huh.
My mom, my mom has been deceased, oh God, about 30 years.
Yeah.
But she has an identical twin. I mean, they look just alike.
Wow.
Hmm.
And
Not
what,
cutting you off, but that's crazy because my mom had an identical twin.
wow.
Wow.
Listen,
That's crazy. She was a twin.
yes.
Hmm. Yeah.
I didn't know my mom's biological side of the family. So my mom was adopted, um,
Okay.
and my grandparents who raised her. Now I
Okay.
didn't know until I was probably grown because they didn't tell us anything. Um, so I met my biological grandfather when he was on his dying bed because he requested to see my mom, and then she took me to the hospital to see him, but he was dying, and we seen him one time, and then that was it. So when my mom passed, I stayed away from my aunt just because seeing her is just like seeing my mom. And
Right.
to reflect this weekend that I've let almost 30 years pass by.
Mm.
without really cultivating a real relationship with my mom's sister.
Wow.
Mm,
Based on that, um, even reflecting to how I am as an auntie, how I
yeah.
see these, how they are like, their nieces and nephews, like second mom.
Mm,
I was like, I had a disconnect there. Like,
yeah.
for some reason, like I never got that spark to be that auntie. And then I was like, this weekend is kind of like, was that because I didn't allow my aunt to, what I mean, like, so I got some little soul searching and some little digging to do and some healing, and then for the time that I have left to make some different choices and decisions because my aunt is still living, and so
Yeah.
I time to make some different choices and decisions. But it was really, really emotional to see her because it was like, I mean, it drained me. And I'm pretty good with balancing, myself spiritually and emotionally just because God has done so much work on me. But by the time I got home, I was emotionally drained because I wanted this kind of like, I had to go in the bathroom about 5 or 6 times while I was there to kind of gather myself together. And come back out, and just be able to be like, keep it together in front of everybody. But what I would say to you, Priscilla, is like, I applaud you for being able to tell your truth, coming out of that shell and that shadow of being afraid, being fearful of what people would think about you, because this is your truth. Some people
Yeah.
may with it might say, oh, that's, or whatever, try to discount your story, but do not allow them, because just like you said earlier, baby, try to walk a mile in these shoes right here, and really nobody can speak to or attest to somebody else's life and their experience until you have walked every single mile in their shoe,
Right.
with every decision that they've had to make, be in the situation and the circumstance that they were facing. If you were not there, and we know you wasn't, nobody has a place to try and tell you if you wrong or you did something, you should have done something this way, or you shouldn't have did that, you shouldn't have did whatever. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so everything that I speak out to you and anybody who's listening, it's the same thing that I had to ingest for myself, because
Right.
it was that I walk, listening to other people, what they had to say about my life, making my decisions, because I'm thinking about and wondering what somebody else gonna have to say about this decision that I made. And I wasn't even living for Tamasha. I'm living for all these other people who didn't even get a hoot nanny about who I was, if I made it. Half of them hating on me anyway and didn't even like me. And
Right.
I'm my time worried about what they think about me. And so when I got free from that, oh my God, the free of I don't give two, I don't give two. I ain't gonna say it on the platform. I don't give two.
I know what you're saying though,
And you know
and
what
that's so true. It's
about
so true. I always live by what people say about me and how I feel, how people might feel about me or what they say or whatever. So, but now I'm at the point. It's like you can say whatever. I'm gonna tell my truth. What I feel is my truth in my life, or what I have seen, or what I have lived
Right.
throughout my life. And if it means shedding a few people, that means shedding a few people. That
Right.
meant that you wasn't meant to be in my life on this journey that I'm finna go on. Like I said, when I walk through the door, I can't take everybody. But
right,
somebody gonna come through there with me. I don't know who it's gonna be. It's gonna be the truth or it's not gonna be the truth. But I'm not gonna bite my tongue about what I think conspired for me to be where I'm at. Like I said, I always been a prideful person, but I said I had to bring that pride down. I always been a person, like I said, I don't like rejection. And to this day I still don't like rejection. But I'm learning to accept it, because you're gonna get no's, you're gonna get yeses. But
Right.
hopefully more yeses than no's. But I'm learning that every day. And for us, with the families and friends, always I was raised to be in a family, to be close with your family, your loved ones, and and all that. And just like you said, I don't take nothing from my grandparents. I had all my grandparents. I have one. My grandfather is still alive today. out of all my grandparents that really loved me and embraced me with love and all that. I'm not just saying I wasn't raised without love because I was, but it was just I was looking for the love of my mom, my dad, the ones who produced me. That
Right.
God said, okay, this is your bond. And I can't say what probably perspired because like I tell people all the time, when you come from a broken, I ain't gonna say broken home, but if you wasn't raised in a home with a mom and a dad, if you was raised in a house with a mom and a dad, you was blessed.
Right.
If you wasn't, you still was blessed, but that's how some of the trauma come too, because you want that for your own kids. You want to be in the household with their dad or and stuff like that. But that wasn't the thing for me. I always been a single mom and a single mother raising my kids. You have your little ins and out with stepdads or whatever you want to call them, and stuff like that. But you as you get older, I started looking as I got older, I started looking back and was just like, what what is the purpose? What was the purpose? Why was I going through all this? Why, it was just like a why question all the time, every time that, things would happen. But then I started answering and just like Elizabeth Cherry just said, she said it was like a spiritual healing for everybody over this last holiday, and it was. I'm gonna have to answer her question. It was. It was like something shifted to make me do what I started doing because I was firm with it. Normally, when I say I'm gonna do something, I would say I'm gonna do it, but not do it. I'd be like, oh, I'll wait another day. Procrastinate. Just keep procrastinating the situation. Just keep procrastinating. But I meant that's what I was gonna do, and if it means that I'm stepping on somebody's toes, then you already knew what it was when it came above. I don't speak like you said, I don't speak like everybody else do. I'm nice, I be cordial with you. I don't disrespect you, but I want the same thing in return.
Right.
Don't disrespect me. I'm not disrespecting you.
Right.
Don't do nothing to me that you don't want done to yourself. Because a lot of time, I said this on my live the other night. A lot of time people don't look at themselves in the mirror. And the reason why you don't look at yourself in the mirror is because you still trying to figure out things for yourself. If
Right.
I always say, if you can stand up in the mirror and look at yourself, you seeing the other side of you. Because when you look at the mirror is looking back and you see yourself. But people do this right here and be like, trying to find somebody else. I can't do that. I'm not gonna do that no more. I'm not gonna point the finger at nobody else because it's me. It's me. And like you said, I did used to blame myself for a lot of things. When things don't go right in people's life, I'd be like, well, it's my fault. I take the fault.
Right.
Just add it to me. I take it. But now it's like, okay, if it's my fault, it's my fault. But if it's not my fault, I'm not going to accept it.
Right.
I'm not going to accept the fault. If it's not mine, I'm not going to accept it no more. That's something you have to deal within yourself. But normally I used to be like, I'm gonna take the fault. It's my fault. Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna suck it all in, take it all in for me, and then now there goes something else on top of me. Instead of me just saying, "Oh no, you're wrong. I'm not gonna do that," and stuff like that. But talking to y'all tonight, I'm realizing that a lot of things I did just take in and just was like suck it up, take it up,
Yeah.
and put your big girl panties on and let's ride, and stuff like that. But it was good. I'm not gonna tell y'all no. Y'all don't know how much y'all done helped me. And I ain't gonna tell you no lie. I promise you, I see already different. I see already different, and it's crazy because I just got through. I was telling him earlier. I said it's crazy because they always said somebody in that like I don't know what they call them, seekers or something. But as I was coming up throughout the years or whatever, I always was afraid of it. I don't know, Jens, I might have told you this before, but I said I always was afraid of God give you a present, because every time I go to someone's church, and it's different, but every time, I don't care if I'm a new person, or whatever, it's every time I walk in somebody's church, and if it's my first time going to their church, they calls me out immediately, like just you. And I'll be like, what you calling me out for? I'm like, what you calling me? I ain't no member of, your church, but they would do that every church I go to. So I got afraid of going to people's churches. I got afraid because I was like, what? Why every time I go to somebody's church, even if I'm just visiting, they call me out?
Mm-hmm.
So someone told me this, or prophets, or I don't know what she was, something, but she told me, she said, because you are a seeker or something, she called me. And I was like, what do you mean by that? Because it was like, God give you a vision to see certain things that other people don't see. And when he give it to you, you can tell the other person about it. And I was just telling him, I said, you know what? I said, I don't know how y'all believe in certain things, but a couple incidents happened to me spiritually. And some people might say it's what they call it, the witch riding your back, or something. But when I was never seen, I told my mama this. I did tell my mama this. When my mama, like I said, had her first child, I wasn't even born. He died from SIDS. But one day I was at my grandmama's house, and I was laying on her couch. And I went to sleep. Huh? Okay. I went to sleep. Okay. And I opened up my eyes, and I'm looking at somebody laying in a casket.
Wow.
I'm looking at this child. It was a child laying in the bed, so a little boy. And I said, oh, I closed my eyes back up. Then I opened up my eyes again. He was looking dead at me. And I said, oh, what? So I got up, and because your grandmama's house, I got up here, my eyes closed. I was reaching through feeling through till I got to her bedroom. I got in her bedroom. I went in there, and how grandma said, what you doing in here? What you want? And I said, Grandma, I said, I don't know what's going on, but I went to sleep, and I've been trying to wake up, and every time I wake up, I see this little child looking at me. And she was like, ain't no child in here. I said, I'm telling you. And God knows I ain't lying when I say this. Thank you, God. I told her, I described her, the little boy, what he had on. He had on a blue little tuxedo, like a blue outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Had a head full of hair, kind of light skin and everything. And she sat up on side of the bed. She was so amazed, I guess, because she was like, you sure? I said, Grandma, I'm telling you what I seen now. And she said, ain't no way, because you ain't, no. And I said, I promise you. And she said, do you know who that was? I said, no, I don't know who that was. She said, that was Christopher, because his name was Christopher.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Christopher, what are you talking about, Christopher? She said, that was your brother. She said, you wouldn't even know well born. How would you know what he had on? So I'm telling you, because to me, I'm scared, because I'm like, this baby looking at me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm scared, because I'm like, why he looking at me?
Right.
Why he looking, I'm scared. But she over here excited, like, oh my God, you done seen him, and stuff like that. And so when we told my mama, she was just like, there's no way. I said, I promise you, Mama. So from that part all the way up, I don't know why all my family members, everyone who passed away, it's like they come to me at the end. Like when they finna go away, or in process, or done, or in the process of going where they gonna go, or wherever. Every last one of my members, my aunties, she came and sat on the bed. look dead at me. I'm looking at her. She looking at me. Can't move, confused. Trying to move. I described my mama. My mama. She came, and I'm asking y'all, and I want y'all opinion. When that part happened with my mama came to see me. I described my mama to her, described her, how she looked. I ain't never seen her day in my life, and told her. And some people was telling me that it's the devil coming in the image. I said, but she was trying to tell me something, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. It was like jibber jabber or something. Like, like I'm talking to you, but I'm talking, it sound like Charlie Brown or something. Because I was laying across the bed, and all of a sudden I just see this bright light. And I'm thinking it's somebody coming down the hallway. So I'm looking, and then all of a sudden I just see this lady. And I was like, I'm scared. I'm telling y'all, I was like literally scared. And so I was like, okay, here we go again with this. What's going on? But I couldn't move. I was like just stuck to the bed. I couldn't even like whatever the entity was or whatever it was, it had me stuck to the bed. And she was just standing right there in the hallway of my mama's house. Just standing there. And I said, I was looking like, what's she trying to say? And then she was just like, her mouth was moving, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. Then all of a sudden she just faded away, like went away. So what y'all think? Give me y'all opinion about what y'all think about these spirits. And I'm gonna tell y'all another incident that happened, and this happened recently.
Well, for me, I think that the people that you're seeing are definitely not the people, but I feel that it can be like an angel sending you a message, but they're coming to you as the image of someone familiar. It could be a message to like the family, like it can be anything, but I feel that when it starts being more demonic, bad things start to happen when you see like the entities. If nothing bad is happening, obviously there's some sort of angel coming in a form of your little brother or your grandma. But I don't think that from what you describe, I don't think that it was something I don't think that it was something demonic, but I think that it's absolutely something spiritual, being that you saw the bright light and stuff like that. So I definitely don't think. What you think, Tamasha?
Same thing. I don't feel like it's demonic. I can let you know if you're being attacked by the enemy because he tries to attack me in my sleep. Several times. I mean, even like about a month ago, like was on my chest trying to keep me from breathing. So like, what we normally say is when you see the spirit or the entity, look at their countenance, their face, or were they happy, were they crying, were they sad, and whatever you can gather and remember from the encounter, if you're not able to hear them, and it could be that God is awakening the gift, and that the more
Right.
you get into it and you embrace it and not fear it, then
Right.
they will come and visit you more. I My daughter who transitioned a couple of years ago, she go visits my nephew at least 2 or 3 times a week. And they're in the car, they're driving, they're doing all kinds of things. So and she sends messages about her daughter. She let us know that that it's heavily protection over her daughters. And so what I'll say is look at the demeanors and the countenance of the I like to say angels, because if it was the money, like you would definitely know the difference.
Right.
Because if they're gonna come, it's gonna come in a form of what I've experienced, an attack, and trying to attack you or literally like suffocate you in your sleep. That's what I experienced. To the
Yeah.
point God had to teach me how to fight in my sleep because I was getting beat up at first, and then God had to teach me how to fight. And my fighting is just calling on the name of Jesus. Anyway, so
Yes.
just but look at their countenance, see what how they look, and then if you wake up and you don't remember they said anything or you don't remember, then I would ask God for further clarity. Okay, God, I had a visit. What were they trying to tell me? What message are you trying to get through to me? And then
Yeah.
give the same thing about opening up that space, and letting someone coming in and removing that masculine energy. It's the same space that we have to open up and give God the opportunity to flow through us with the gift. Because one thing about God is he's not going to do anything that's going to scare you or make you fearful of him. So if he feels like that's the case, he'll pull back and not
Right.
let that many encounters. But once you get comfortable with it and you go to God and say, okay, I want to know what were they trying to say, and God, give me the ears to hear, give me the eyes to see, not these natural ears and eyes, spiritual ears and eyes to hear what the spirit.
Right.
The more you are open up and he see that you're not fearful, then he will allow those messages and whatever that they're trying to bring to you flow through to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I want to elaborate on
I
something.
go ahead.
No, I want to elaborate on something. And just kind of tell a story. So for, I'll say maybe 8 years ago, one of my cousins, is well, he's a prophet. So he flows in a prophetic, and I have a prophetic gift. My cousin gave me this book, and by Kenneth Hagin. I read this book, and I remember reading in this book, I was just so intrigued about like wanting to see angels. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen over a course of what, 8 years. Recently, I asked God, like I want to see, because you have to definitely be in that space to be
Yeah.
able to see. And I asked God, I said, God, I want to see angels. So I just started to like call forth my angels. I was like, God, send me my angels. I want to be able to identify them. I want to see them. I want to be able to know when they're with me so I can command them to do things. We're supposed to command angels.
Put them,
God gave us authority over them.
got put them to work.
Right.
Yeah.
They're,
There
they're
you
here
go.
to work for us. They're here to
Yeah.
serve us.
That's right. Put them to work. You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I told God, I said, first, I said, God, take the fear away. When I see it, I don't want to be shocked or bombed out about seeing it. Because I know if God shows it to him and we be in so much fear, he'll just not let him come back. So I
Yeah.
woke up early in the morning. And no lie, I opened my eyes. And as I'm opening my eyes, there was this big angel standing in the corner of my room. And the first thing, I could feel the fear starting to come.
Yeah.
So I was like, don't I and I instantly told myself, do not get scared.
Mm-hmm.
So I told myself, don't get scared. And I said, good morning, angel. I said, thank you for serving me. And thank you for following the instructions of our Father. That was the first
Yeah.
thing that I said. I acknowledged the angel because I wanted God to know I'm embracing this moment. Like, I'm embracing it. Whatever you're starting to open my eyes more and more, I'm embracing it. So I had encounterments with Angel for like a week straight. I had
Yeah.
like encounterments. The next day I woke up, there was an angel as like a little kid. It was like they looked literally like a little tiny kid, like a
Yeah.
maybe about a 10-month old baby. But
Yeah.
it appeared to be like as an adult. I can't really explain it. And I just said the same thing. So what I'm saying to you is, when you're having those encounterments, embrace them, because those encounterments are important. God wants us to acknowledge. So go to God and say, God, this is what you given me. What do you want me to do with this? What am I supposed to take from this? Like, give me show me ways that I can encounter, have more encounterments, but give me the wisdom and the knowledge to understand why I'm having these encounterments.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, because I question it a lot. Um, when when my grandmama house got burnt down or whatever, and it was so crazy. Before it burnt down, my fiance Larry, it was so crazy because he never had came to my grandma's house before. But in my dream, I dreamed this. He came into my dream and it was like, cause my grandma used to have like these little picnic tables in the back in her yard. He came he was sitting at the picnic table, but he was looking towards my grandmama's house. And so I said, "What you doing out here?" He said, "Come sit down with me." I said, "Come sit down with you? What's going on?" I said, "Why you here?" He said, "I just want you to come sit down with me. Don't say a word. Just sit down and look." That's all he told me. Just sit down and look. So I said, "Sit down and look. What's going on at Granny house?" Just like that. And he was just like, "Sit down and look." And it wasn't probably a week, maybe it might have been like a week and a half later, my grandmama's house burned down.
wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
And I said, "If that's what he came to tell me, that something bad was going to happen and that I wouldn't like it." But but he wanted me to sit there, I guess, to enjoy it while I was there.
Yeah.
Because after my grandmama passed, I could never walk in the yard again.
Wow.
I never went back to her house.
Mm.
Not even walked in the yard.
Wow.
I could never do it. Never. I couldn't. I would go up by there, but I would never get out the car and actually walk in the yard to go into the house. I would never. I could. It was like I couldn't do it because I was, so used to seeing her or going, and she's there, and knowing that she wasn't there, I couldn't. I couldn't take it. I couldn't. I ain't know how to deal with it. So I
Right.
was like, oh my God, because when she died, the day before she died, she was in the nursing home for 30-day rehab. And I got off work that evening and I said, I'm going out here to see mama. Then I said, no, I'm not going. I'm going home and go lay down and go to sleep. I was at work that morning. I was at work and my mama called me and said, you need to come to the hospital. And I was like, what you mean come to the hospital? She said, mama in the hospital. I said, what mama doing in the hospital? Mama at the nursing home. She said, no, mama at the hospital. And by the time me and my daughter got up there to where the hospital she was in, my mama called and said that she was gone. Now, mind y'all, I never was a person that liked to look at people in the caskets.
Right.
I could never look at a person in the casket. I could never look at dead people pretty much. And so when we got up there and I walked in that room where they had my granddad, I couldn't even, it was just like looking at her, but it was like, that's not her. I was just like, I said that immediately. That's not her. And my mama was like, what you mean? I said, Mama, this is not her. This is not my granny. I'm looking at this shell of a woman, and I'm like, no, she had already passed over before we even came. I can feel like no life. You walk in, sometimes you still feel like something at peace and something was whatever. But when I walked in there, I was just like, it's not her. This is not my grandmama. This is because I'm saying to myself, this is my life. My life has left. It's gone. Is she done left? She was 85. Yeah, 85 or 86. 85, I think. When she passed, even though I feel like, she lived her life to where it's supposed to be, but Now I'm like, well, now who I'm gonna walk to, who I'm gonna talk to. And I go back to now is back to my mom. Who I'm gonna go to, who I'm gonna talk to, who I'm gonna call when I'm going through, or when I'm gonna, who that person I'm gonna be like. I can get on the phone because if you know your grandparents, some of your grandparents, like my grandmama, she was don't care if she hurt your feelings, give it to you raw, like the real deal, like, well, this is what what you need to do and stuff like that. And that's how she was. So when I lost her in 2013, was just like, now who I'm gonna talk to? Because
Right.
mind y'all, I haven't healed from what the past was, none of that with my mom. So I was like, I always knew I can call my grandmama and be like, grandmama, this and that. Or I could always go up there and be like, mama, this and that, and stuff like that. So it was like another loss for me as
Right.
as a, like look done lost again,
Right.
like another loss and stuff like that. So it's a journey. I'm
It
about
is.
to say
It is.
it's a journey. It is a journey. I
It
ain't
is.
gonna tell you the story.
And if I had to say something in, kind of like closing, um,
Hmm.
you definitely have a gift on you. And everything that you have went through and experienced was not just for you. You
Right.
gone through it to be able to help bring others out. And what I'm hearing in my spirit is many are called, but few
Right.
chosen. And it's
That's right.
the ones that God got to kind of like pull us, because we be like, I don't need no spotlight. Go
Right.
somebody else. Go let them be the messenger.
Right, Dr. Tomasha, you are right.
And
Right.
you trust me, I had God is on script my little track shoes and threw them away, baby, because they say she's a runner, she's a track star. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to get somebody else. Like, I
Mm,
don't nobody spotlight. I ain't gotta be no um no prophetess, no this, that, now that I ain't gotta be all that. But God was like, I know, and that's exactly why I want you, because I can use you. And even what Janice was saying earlier about your heart and how
mm,
you the sweetest person and you'll give anybody anything, because man looks at the outer appearance. God measures and look at us by our heart. And if he can trust you, oh, I only want to preach. He's saying,
yeah.
I can trust you. I can use you. And
Right.
Yeah.
shown God that he can trust you,
That's
that your
right.
heart is pure. On the surface, are we going to make mistakes? Yes. On the surface, are we not going to hit the mark every time? We're going to miss it? Yes, we are. We're going to take a lot of a lot of criticism. Yes, we are. But when God says, when it comes to your heart, it's like he's saying you've been through the fire
Yeah.
Right.
and he's purified your heart for
That's
the
right.
Mm,
very time that we're in right now, because so many people need to heal from past traumas. And
Mm.
guess what? It's going to be people that only you can reach. It's
That's right.
yeah.
that I'm going to be able to reach. It's only people that Janice is going to be able to reach. And it's people that only Priscilla is going to be able to reach. And your message is going to be able to resonate with them and help
Right.
free in their minds, in their souls, and in their spirit.
Yeah.
Everything you're going through is not happenstance. God knew that you could take it, that you would survive it, you would triumph over it, and
Yeah.
then get to a point to be a voice for it, to let people know that God still is here. He's the same God today, yesterday, and forevermore. And guess what? If he did it for me, if he did it for Priscilla, and he did it for Jack, guess what? He can do it for anybody else. So
That's
you
right.
speaking, because out of your voice, it's your voice, but it's
Yeah.
God and it's God's people that needs to hear the testimony from what you have gone through to be able to set them free.
That's
Yeah.
right. And I'm going to go ahead and close on that note, But before I close, I do want to say something. Back to what Elizabeth posted earlier. She was basically saying this past weekend was a spiritual shift within families. And you and I talked about that, Priscilla. I
Yeah.
said there was a shift that took place, even with myself, coming together with my family this past weekend. It was a major shift. It was very therapeutic. It was something different. I've gotten with my family time after time after time, and there was a dynamic shift that kind of just, I can't even explain it. There's something that, it's something that I just can't explain. And I feel that, hearing your story, Tamasha, and your encounterment with your mom's sister, hearing your story about Priscilla, about you wanting to tell your truth after this weekend, and even the encounterment that I had this past weekend, I know God is doing something amazing spiritually. And I
Yeah.
feel that it's the time to be obedient.
Right.
This is the time. And I feel like God is calling us to something greater and something higher. And I feel that this is the time.
Yeah.
This is the time for divine alignment. And
Mhm.
this just the beginning. This is just the beginning. Just the
Yeah.
beginning. And again,
Yeah.
I want to thank you ladies for being a part of this movement, being a part of telling your story and being transparent and being open and honest and real, because people need to hear this. So I want to
Yeah.
thank you ladies um for that transparency. And I'm going to go ahead and close, and I want to know, Tamasha, do you have any closing remarks before we get out?
Um, just let God flow. That's
Right.
right. And God wanted me to ask you something earlier, Priscilla. When you pray,
Mhm.
how do you pray? Like, do you get down on your knees and pray, and then you get up, or do you stay in that space for a while? How do you pray?
Well, when I pray, cause I'm gonna be honest, I don't pray all the time.
Okay.
Um, but when I do pray at home, I get on my knees, or either if or sometimes I might be sitting on the side of the bed and just be like, God, and start praying. Or I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I be at work, I be have to, pray at work. I pray at work. I be sitting in that chair sometime when if Miss Janet them coming up, if I'm sitting there and I'm just, I have to pray. I pray at work, but I very rarely get on my knees and pray, in which I should, but I don't. And like I said, I don't pray all the time because most of the time, like I said, I'm trying to build my faith back up into God. And so, lately I have, but when I do, I normally pray, either be on the side of the bed or every now and then I get on my knees, and that's being 100.
Okay. So let me say this, and then God told me I said it wrong, because I don't. When we pray, we can pray anywhere, in your car, in your
Yeah,
shower, right
yeah,
here talking to you. I can be in the club. I can be anywhere and have a conversation with God. So
Right.
yeah,
not just in prayer too, but in general conversation. But now, so I want to separate the two, because I talk to God all day throughout the day. Like,
yeah,
hey, so who got why that, who that, I need to answer on that. But I stay on that nerve, because that's all day. Now,
yeah,
but there are times that I sit aside certain time to where I'm gonna get in my closet, or I'm gonna get in a space, and I'm gonna lay out before him. And
yeah,
what God wants is your time. He
yeah,
wants you to set aside some time, whether it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. And let's say you lay out for 5 minutes. If you lay out and you pray for 5 minutes, stay there another 5 or 10 minutes. What God,
yeah,
and there's a lot of times what we do is we pray, but then we don't be silent to give God the time to respond, or be
yeah,
able hear his response. Because then once we get up and we get to moving all this stuff around us, life and all that stuff, God, he ain't gonna get all loud and try to talk over Facebook and Instagram and work and friends and our favorite TV show. He not gonna talk over all that stuff. So when we set aside, and as I'm talking to you, Gus, I'm talking to you too. So you talk too, Gus, I'm talking to you too.
Right.
Yeah.
Set
Yeah.
aside some time to, like I say, it don't even matter how long, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. He just needs to
Right.
know that we are, and I'm saying we because I'm in this, we are making him a priority now to.
Right.
Now, even if you're in your bed, look, he said, even if when you wake up first thing in the morning, before you move or check your phone or anything, if you need to just lay there another 5 or 10 minutes and just go before him, God, thank you for letting me wake up with an attitude of gratitude. But then give him some time to be quiet within your spirit for
Right.
him.
Yeah.
Because he has something that he wants you to hear directly from his lips to your ear.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
again, ladies. Guys, thank you for tuning in to the podcast. We will be back next week. I'll be posting on the update. And it was amazing hearing Miss Priscilla's story. And thank you for the comments and the feedback. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for the likes. And
Yes.
again, my name is Janice Love. I am the founder of Divine Destiny Speaks podcast. And also, this is Miss Priscilla. Wait, Priscilla, so everybody can see you. She was our special guest today. And the one and only Dr. Tamasha
Yes.
Rosser. Give us some love. And thank you guys for being here. And thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us. Yes, yes. And Michelle, that's my cousin, guys. Show my cousin some love. Say hello, Michelle.
Yes.
Hey.
Said thanks for sharing, ladies.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you
You're
for being
welcome.
receptive to us sharing.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate the love and the warmth. We'll be doing this again next week. Hey, I don't know how I'm feeling. I might hop on and really just tear it down. I don't know. But again, thank you. And thank you, Miss Roslyn. Thank you. Roslyn say I enjoy. Let me put that up there. She said she enjoyed.
Thank you, Roz.
Oh, that's my
Thank you.
cousin. Rah rah.
Yes.
Yes, but yes, everyone, thank you again. And we're about to call it a night. Meet us back here again next week. I'll keep you guys updated. We'll be posting, so watch our social medias for the activities. And peace and love, everyone.
Yes. Yes. Blessing.
Everybody, good night.
Good night.